An off year and doesn't have any of those national races, the Kentucky governor's race has popped up as one of the big ones to watch across the country. So to dive into why the Commonwealth is now in the national spotlight, we turn to ABC News political contributor and NPR correspondent Asma Khalid. Thank you so much for coming on, Asma.
My pleasure.
So let's start with some of the national implications here. Why are people all across the country watching our election here in Kentucky?
In major part because I think folks see it as a preview for what could happen in the presidential election in 2024. There's not a lot of states across the country that are voting today. And also I think that folks see it as a bit of a bellwether. My colleagues over at Kentucky Public Radio were saying that what's happened in the governor's race in Kentucky, I believe for the last 6 governor's races, has actually corresponded with whether or not Republicans or Democrats win the presidential the next year. So it has been quite an accurate bellwether.
Which is so interesting, and we've been hearing national outlets say that our governor's race will provide that key insight into the 2024 presidential race. So is the belief that if we see our incumbent, a Democrat, Andy Beshear, win here, it's saying something about Biden?
I mean, look, I do think that governors are often very distinct from senators and members of Congress in terms of their ability to nationalize or localize elections. We see, Kentucky has had a Democratic governor, though it may not vote for Democrats at a presidential level. The same we've seen for a state like Massachusetts that often elects Republican governors. But what I will say is you see poll after poll, including a new Reuters Ipsos poll today, that showed President Biden's approval rating is at a really, really low point. And folks are looking for any signs that might be indicative of what could happen next year.
And we have heard analysts saying that the presidential candidates will play a role here. If Andy Beshear, our Democrat, loses, that it's really a Biden contribution there. Is that something that you think could be true, that just the name Biden could have an impact on Beshear and his chances?
I mean, my understanding is that he really has been able to create a distinct local brand. And a lot of folks, when looking at a governor, look for somebody who's had good executive management. And he has been praised, as you all know, for his handling of the floods and the tornadoes. So if he potentially does lose this election race, there's no doubt that his Republican competitor has been trying to tie him to Joe Biden. And we see that Joe Biden's approval rating has been underwater across the country for a number of months.
Asma, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us. We really appreciate it. That insight, very helpful as we look to what could be a long night.
My pleasure.